Okay, everybody, we are live. Welcome, everyone. So happy to have y'all. I always appreciate cameras on. Anyone on YouTube, I'll send the link if you want to pull up to our experience. I'd love to have you. Involved with us. How can I send the link to you? I don't know exactly. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I like the videos on at least for a few people so I can talk directly to like Baruch with his tefillin on over there. Just nice to see you doing that mitzvah. Let me think how I can get that on there. I think maybe from my WhatsApp I can do it. Someone just sent me a WhatsApp. There it is. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I can put this on the, okay, I know how to do this. I'm going to type this, I'm going to put this link on, copy link and put that onto the YouTube comments. That should do it. Here we go. If you want to be on Zoom. Okay, gang. All right. So here we are together. Really enjoying doing this so far. Someone has a question. So let's see who has that question. Was it Cameron who had that question? Might have been Cameron who had the question. Cameron, you had a question? Cameron. Oh, sorry, you're muted. I asked you to unmute. See if that unmutes. So I was opening it up to questions today so people can ask the questions. You can also just type them in. I always have a lot to say. Oh, you're at work. Oh, sorry. No, someone else had WhatsApp me about wanting to ask a question. But again, anyone who has a question, you can type it in. Right now, while I have the video paused, you can actually ask your question straight out. Oleg, if you have a question, please fire away. Warren, anyone who has a question, this is your chance. And again, you can type it. Also, oh, I see there's already 4 chat things here. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Oh, yeah, that was you. Okay, good. So go ahead, Cameron, you can ask your question. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right because I know Cameron. All right, let's hear. She's hopefully typing her question and then maybe I'll share a few words before I see. I think we'll do all the questions typed in. I think that's the best way to do it. And the reason being that one of the places this video goes is it gets put online, and they ask that it doesn't switch on to different people's faces while it's going. I'm gonna make a bracha on some water. Okay, Cameron got her question out there.
Amen.
Hey, who unmuted? Someone got unmuted. Is that you, Baruch?
Yeah, I did it for a second, so you could hear that I said amen.
No, it was on something that I had to like allow you to unmute. Do you have any questions, by the way, Baruch?
At the moment, no.
Okay, so it says regarding the 72 names of God. I think you're talking about the 72 letter name of God. You said to be very respectful of them. All the names, yeah, we got to be very careful. What do we do if we feel in the past we didn't hold so much respect for them due to lack of knowledge? Yeah. So you're probably absolutely fine. You would only be worried if the only thing to worry about is if you notice like stuff's really, you're having like crazy mazel or something crazy, like crazy stuff's happening. If crazy stuff's happening in your life, it could be that you blew it with the names and with names of God. And so if that happened, then you need to speak to a major Kabbalist to help you with it. But as long as everything's going smoothly, then it didn't affect you and you're all good. So you can relax. Don't worry about having blown it with the names. You should know, like, for example, even like we're super careful. So like, for example, our pronunciation, we'll say Hashem instead of the Ado and Nai word. But traditionally, a lot of people throughout history spoke with the names of God. Like they would say, Baruch and then Ado and Nai to tell people, that they're doing good. Thank God. Who's a major Kabbalist these days? Good luck. You got to tell me what city you're in. Okay. I'm going to unpause this video. Actually, before I do, before I unpause this, let me think of a topic. Guys, throw out a topic for me. Come on, someone put out a topic. Who's got a topic for me?
Giving.
Giving? Why giving?
Well, I guess I've been reading a book written by Rav Berg. This book right here.
What's it called?
The Essential Zohar.
Okay.
And one of the main ideas that he's been discussing is how one of the highest spiritual natures that we can, I guess, work towards is to be completely altruistic in our nature.
Okay.
To no longer desire to receive just for ourselves, but to receive in order to then give to others. And I just found that to be a really interesting idea and a really interesting kind of philosophy that I've been at least tinkering around with over here on my end.
To get to that level of giving. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, I'm happy to talk about that a little bit, and then we have how do we overcome depressed moments in the day. All right, so I'll handle it a little bit. I'll handle a little bit of these topics. And I still don't know where Cameron's located to talk about the how to find a Kabbalist, who's big time. It's very hard to find them these days. There's only a few left. She's in Indiana. Yeah, forget it. You're not going to be talking to anyone in person in Indiana, that's for sure. Even in America, I'd be hard pressed to tell you who to talk to. Okay, let's get going. I'm going to unpause this. Shalom and welcome back to Practical Spirituality. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you. We are going to handle a couple topics. One is giving, one is depression, one is what do you do if you weren't careful spiritually? And careful spiritually, it could have to do with names of God. It could have to do with idolatry. It could have to do with using any kind of medium or being under the influence of other people who are coming from a dark place and letting your soul be, letting your soul be vulnerable to them. The subject of spiritual cleanliness in general, you got to be careful. You got to be careful to keep your soul, safe. And there's different ways to keep your soul safe. One of them is stay away from media that has violence or is sexually explicit or is foul-mouthed. Stay away from all media like that. That's one thing that can put a pretty dark spell on you. Another one is allowing yourself to be under the influence of someone who's not clean themselves. Another one is to avoid all temptation to use mediums in your relationship to God. In other words, making the I don't mean so much in your relationship to God, but making the ends the making the means the end. You know, one of the definitions of idolatry is making the means the end. What does that mean? So we have things that we use in this world. We have the sun. You know, you need the sun, but you don't bow to it. Okay? You don't worship it. You don't even salute it. So and I say even, some of you are like, why would I ever salute it? But there's one of the most important, kind of sequences of moves in yoga is called the sun salutation. Anyway, we call it the hands of Moses because it's a story of Moses with his hands up when he was attacked, when the Jewish people were attacked by a nation called Amalek when they left left Egypt. Anyway, it actually came up in last week's Torah portion. So you want to be really careful of cleanliness in your soul. And so idolatry, one of the definitions, making the means the end. Money, you know, you got money, and if you make the means the end, what's the means to your end? You need to pay for things with money. But what if you make money the end in itself? How many people have made money what life's about? You know, and so they made the means the end so they could turn money into idolatry. But the crazy thing is you could turn Torah into idolatry because the Torah is not the end. Torah is the means to connect to God and to learn how to live in this world. But what if, a lot of you probably can't imagine this, but I can tell you there are big academies of people studying Torah who have made the means the end. So it's easy, just ask them, what's the most important thing in Judaism? If they answer Torah and not God, so you know they made the means the end. So it's easy to make the means the end. And we want to be super careful of not doing that. And when we do that, it attaches to us. We get attachments. And when you got stuff attached to you, negative stuff, dark stuff, so then you have to clean house. You got to clean it out. And one of the ways of cleaning it out is going to a Kabbalist. And generally you have to go to a Kabbalist to deal with it. The sad thing is it's getting harder and harder to find a Kabbalist that can help you with that. Oh, I've met people who had a lot of stuff attached to them using Ouija boards, which is, kind of out there to think that Ouija boards actually work, because it seems like something that's just for fun. You play with it. A Ouija board. I'm not going to describe that for people who don't know what it is right now, but I've met people who had serious, spiritual funk all over them because of their use of Ouija boards. Thanks for having your camera on, Max. I'm teaching you and Oleg right now as far as my human beings near the camera. I'm going to go. There were a couple more questions. Someone had asked, how do we overcome depressed moments in the day? You think close to 60,000 thoughts during your 17 woken hours, and that comes out to about 3,500 thoughts an hour. And so those moments in your day aren't actual depression. Those aren't depressed moments in your day. Those are low feeling moments. And the reason you're having low feeling moments is because of your thoughts. Thoughts cause feelings. Moods cause the quality of your thoughts. So moods, meaning being in a high mood or a low mood causes the quality of your thinking. If you're in a low mood, you're going to have low quality thinking. If you're in a high mood, you're going to have high quality thinking. Now, thinking, all those thousands of thoughts an hour, each one causes a different feeling. Now, most of them are pretty neutral. Some make you tense, so you're feeling lower feelings. Some make you excited, you're feeling higher feelings, but they're like thoughts are causing each feeling. You can't have a feeling without a thought. Watch, everyone feel happy. You can't. You have to have a happy thought. I have to sing a happy song. I got to tell you good news. Okay, everyone feels sad. You can't. You can't just feel sad. I have to sing you a sad song, tell you a sad story. Something sad has to take place for you to feel sad. You have to have the sad thought before you can have the sad feeling. Thoughts cause feelings. So you're not actually having a depressed thought throughout, or you're not having depressed, depressed moments. You're having low feelings. Well, low feelings means that all you got to do is put your mind, unless you're OCD, you have to put your mind on something else for your next 3,000 thoughts that hour. And you'll notice that that really was just a low feeling moment. And you moved on. You moved on throughout your day. And by the way, I'll say it again, anyone who's willing to put their cameras on makes a big difference for me to teach. So, what's up, Drew? How you doing? So anyway, so I really appreciate your camera on. So low feelings, I'm speaking like right to you right now. I've got Max and Drew right under my camera. And anyway, the low feelings throughout your day, all you got to do is just, don't worry, Oleg and Shlomo, you're not far from that. You're not far from the camera either. What happens is that you just got to get distracted. I myself, if I've got my eyes closed, let's say I'm praying and I've got my eyes closed, and then I'm getting thoughts that are not the thoughts I want in my brain during the prayer, I will open my eyes, look at something just to distract myself, and then get back to the prayer, because I know I just need distraction. And generally in the next hour, you're going to have a lot of thoughts. And so each of those thoughts will take you away from those low feelings. Now, again, I mentioned not if you're OCD. If you're OCD, you're just going to like ruminate on more thoughts of low, that each one, which could take you to deeper and lower feelings. And so, so you'll need stronger, more heroic actions to get yourself out of those low feelings. But low feelings is not depression. Low feelings is just low feelings, and it's your one nice thought, your one happy thought to your next happy feeling when you're in those low feelings. But there's a lot of things you can do for low moods. Maybe I don't know if Drew was just saying something, but we're typing Did you say something, Drew?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as all right, so we're talking about like these moods and emotions, and I remember the last video that I caught, you were talking about how our consciousness is connected to the one, right?
Yeah.
And like, so we got these positive and negative, I guess, emotions that are going on. And
Yeah.
Now my big question, I'm sorry if I steer off too far, but now if you got these consciousness that are, that are positive and these consciousness that are bad.
Well, let's not mix up consciousness with feelings right now. You got consciousness is pure one with God.
Yeah,
but you got these
I'm sorry.
feelings.
I'm sorry.
Feelings. So by the way, I just want to mention real quick, Drew, that you have objects outside of you that we know are not. That's not us. Then you have thoughts which are closer to you, but you're not thoughts. Then you have feelings that are even closer to you. So you could easily think those are you, but you're not feelings. You're oneness with Hashem. You're oneness with God. Right. But okay, now go on with your questions. So you got these high feelings, these low feelings.
So you got all of these emotions and stuff. Once the consciousness, say, how once you come into this world, right, you start to come more, if you're not consciousness with God, like you said, if you get conscious with God, you're not going to eat, you're not going to sleep, you're going to, you're going after God, right? So what about these people that are like totally earthly, that, they're causing, religious and causing massacres and stuff, when we all go back, when the body goes back to dust, all our consciousness still goes back to the one.
Yeah.
That's not our fault. I mean, it's not our fault that we're chopping heads off out here and stealing.
So so the when it comes to consciousness, when we die, meaning when the consciousness reunites into the one, you have to pass through a substrate of the world you created, meaning while you're living in this world, you're creating another world like right above it. And it's a parallel world,
right?
And it's filled with everything you blew. Meaning the stuff you did good just goes straight up and just explodes into oneness. Every good deed you do just explodes into oneness. Right. And it is definitely bettering your situation spiritually till you come, meaning when you die and until you come back again, you were greatly bettered by everything you did. But you don't have to cross through that. What you do have to cross through is the stuff that got stuck. And there's parallel worlds. And that realm where stuff got stuck, that stuff you got to fix. You got to fix that stuff. And well, how am I going to fix it? Well, there's two ways to fix it: in this world or going through. So to fix it, I'm just going to mute you so the camera's not flipping back and forth for a sec. You can unmute when you're going to talk. So the when you traverse through that, that's one way to fix it, but it ain't pretty. And there's no clock on the wall. So you have no idea how long that's going to take. 1 second of it feels longer than all of world history because there's no clock. And I don't know, Drew, if you've ever been in states of mind that I'm familiar with where there's no sense of time. You ever been in those states where every moment feels like eternity and you can't tell if it's today, yesterday, or the day after. You're outside time. So it feels like eternity. Well, it's cool if you're in bliss when it feels like eternity, but I've also had situations where I was in that kind of state and it wasn't feeling like bliss. I was going through hell and it felt like that was forever. And going through stuff forever is not fun. Even if in earth time, it would only be a minute. So you got to traverse it. It's freaked out. But the nice thing about it is how organic it is because it's yours. It's all yours. So like, let's say, as a, you'd have to be over 13 to get really busted for anything. But let's say I ripped off a slice of pizza or something, so I meet my pizza. So when I get to that pizza, I'm like, oh man, I remember that pizza. And you're like, uh-oh. Only now it's like a spiritual pizza with his own little chainsaw, like, remember me, and you're just like, oh man, yeah, I remember you. So I told you there's two ways to clean this stuff off. So way number one is not the way I just described. That's way number two if you didn't do it. The way you do it is by owning it here. You got to own it here. Own your stuff. And there's 4 steps to owning your stuff to clean off that realm, to get that realm clear for you. There's 4 steps to cleaning off your stuff. Step number 1, stop doing it. Stop stealing pizza. Number 2 is you got to say it, because everything in the world's made of letters. The whole world's, it's made of vibration, but those vibrations have numerical values. And what are those numerical values? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. Sounds familiar? Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta. It's made of the letters. That the whole creation's made of letters, and it's actually all made of God's names. And that's why we have to be so careful of God's names, because if we're not careful with the names, it gets stuck on us. So let me just keep riffing, okay, for a minute. So what happens is all those letters that came down a system all the way down to our world, their job really is to go back up and explode into oneness. But they can get stuck here if we stick them here, if we lock them in by not being clean in thought, speech, and action. Thought, speech, action. Those are the garments of the soul. Clean thoughts, that's what we called the other day mental hygiene. Clean speech, never speak derogatory about anybody. And obviously by name. If you want to discuss, people doing bad stuff, okay, you know, like everyone knows people are doing that, so you can talk about it, but not by name. It's not James was doing bad stuff. You understand that you don't say. And you are allowed to warn someone who's about to get harmed by James. You're allowed to warn them. And you don't want to know something, they're not allowed to believe you, but they do have to take, you know, steps. They can take steps. They're just not supposed to believe you. And because it's just as bad to believe derogatory things about people as saying it. Same thing, whether you hear it or whether you say it. So the next time you hear someone say, you say, that doesn't speak to me. Yeah, you gotta have your thumbs up. It looks like guns. That don't speak to me. And so I'll literally just pretend I have to go to the bathroom. If I hear people, you know, roasting somebody, I'll just pretend I gotta go to the bathroom and get up and leave, because either I gotta stop them, like good luck, and or I gotta get out of there. And so I'll just get out. And anyway, so what happens is there's 4 steps how to stop this whole thing, so you don't have to traverse that stuff in the timeless zone. So the 4 steps are: 1 is you stop. Number 2 is you got to say it. That's why I was talking about all the letters. You have to say it. You got to use language out loud to nobody. Don't say it to anybody but God. It's between you and God. You just got to say it. And it's funny that actually Christianity took on this whole confession thing. You got to say it to the priest or whatever, but unnecessary. You just got to say it because it's between you and God. No priest can forgive you for nothing. Okay. And anyway, you got to say it. That's step 2. Step 3, that's the big one. Step 3, without step 3, I didn't get anywhere. Step 3 is you got to regret it. You got to regret it. You got to go, why? Because now you're in the heart. Now you're in the heart. And the only reason you did it was your heart got you there, meaning your head wasn't able to circumvent the desire of your heart to say it or to do it or whatever the stupid thing was. You know, the head said don't. We all hear the voice saying don't. The heart says, but yes. The head was like, no. Like, yes, no. And until you develop serious discipline between the head and the heart, because your heart's essential, because that's where you love. I mean, that's where you connect. That's heart's great, you know, but if you got to have the head determining when the heart is appropriately desiring or when it's inappropriate. So what happens is we got to go to the heart. How do you get to the heart? Easy. Regret. Regret's an emotion. It's not a thought. It's an emotion. And now there's an actual definition. You know, oh, like I bet you never thought that there was a definition of regret, right? It's just a feeling. No, there is an emotion. There is an actual definition. You know what the definition is of regret? It's if I knew today, meaning if I had the clarity today, then, because you wouldn't even be thinking about this if you didn't have clarity right now. You're having a moment of clarity. You get that, Warren? You're having a moment of clarity right now. How could you have regret if you don't have a moment of clarity? It must be you're getting clear on something. So now that I'm clear about this, if I had that clarity then that I do now, I would never have done it. If I had that clarity, you know, just like if you ever broke someone's heart and later regretted it, you know, and you finally got clarity in what that person meant to you. So like, wow, you know, I never thought about that. That person means so much to me and I hurt them. And so I have regret because, and had I that clarity then, I would never have hurt them. But I didn't have the clarity. And so that's regret. But regret should come with not just definition, it should be coming with heart. Clarity should come with heart, it should come with emotion. And that emotion is heartbreak, heartache. You know, it makes me sad that I blew it like that. That I blew it because, okay, by the way, you should know that lack of clarity is what our rabbis call temporary insanity, right? Because if you did something that you never do with clarity, well, what do you call someone who isn't clear? Insane. So it must have been I was temporarily insane. So because the only way you could sin, the only way you could hurt, the only way you could do a wrong thing is by being insane temporarily. You lost it. You lost it. You got somehow convinced to do something stupid. Well, there's something really nice about that because you know that insanity, even in modern courts, you can get off the hook. Well, it turns out with God, you can also get off the hook with insanity by telling him, God, you know, I just had no clarity. I was, you know, whatever. I was beaten. I was molested. I was this. I was in a bad crowd. There's a million things that can make you insane. We're so easily influenced. Don't forget I heard an amazing quote. Human beings have Paleolithic emotions. We have medieval institutions, and we have godlike technology. We're in trouble. Okay? We're in trouble. So, and that's why the world's in such crazy trouble right now. So anyway, so since I have Paleolithic, ancient emotional system, so it's easy to get sucked into stupid stuff and go temporarily insane and do stuff you regret. Now, I got to share with you something cool. So you guys can see my fingers at the bottom of the screen. Those are looking. So it's going up the screen like that. Yeah. So this is two people on a path together. Let's say they're best friends. They're holy as anything, and they're moving up the path together, the two people. But what happens is one of them gets badly influenced or whatever. He does something stupid and he drops right there. And the other guy is just going right to the other corner of the screen. And this guy drops. Yeah. Now, if he doesn't pick himself up, he's just going like that down to that corner of the screen. So you're thinking, oh man, that dude blew it. But what happens is when you have regret, you start getting feelings of clarity about what you what you lost, what you stand to lose if you keep going that way. And here's what happened. Watch this. As low as you go from having blown it, if you regret it, and then you do step 4, which is commitment to never go there again, you actually go to a place that the other guy could never get to. You understand? So if you, and by the way, you can't plan this. Like our Kabbalistic, the mystics tell us very clearly, you can't like blow it to get higher. There's no blowing it to get higher. If you blew it to get higher, that means you had clarity. And if you had clarity about getting higher, so then you can't use the regret, because you don't regret it because you did it with clarity to get higher. You did something wrong to get higher, so it doesn't work. So it says anyone who tries to blow it to get higher won't be able to do it because you did it with clarity, and you can't use the temporary insanity because there's nothing more sane than wanting to get close to God. That's the sanest thing that there could be. So anyway, so you and this dude were coming along, best friends. He keeps going on his trajectory. You blew it. And then you feel those feelings of regret. And you start getting this clarity. Whoa, look how far I am. I want closeness, man. I don't want to feel far. I want to feel close. And then that feeling that I want to be close makes you just go like, whoa. And you're just like, you're in a new place. And you could never have gotten there had you not fallen. Had you not fallen, you could never have gotten there. And that's why you'll notice some of the best teachers in the world had done some stupid stuff. Yeah. Some of the best teachers in the world, some of the holiest people you'll ever meet had a dark time. They all had some dark times. And that's what made them so amazing. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential, amazing people ever walked the earth. She had her first 2 children were before she was even 14, and they were both from rape. And I don't remember if she aborted them or she had them and put them up for adoption. I don't remember what happened with the kids themselves, because she's not, from what I know of her, I don't know of her who her kids are, but things were real dark there. And that's how things get great. Things get great when you've been through hell. And you'll notice, for example, a lot of professionals who help people, like, for example, therapists, often, they healed themselves and they said, wow, I didn't know you could heal. And if you can heal, I want to heal somebody else. I want to help other people. And anyway, so let's go back. So let me just review the 4 steps because I want you to memorize them. You ready? Stop, say, regret, commit. Try it. Stop, say, regret, commit. Stop, say, regret, commit. Stop, say, regret, commit. Together. Stop, say, regret, commit. You got it? So you stop what you're doing, say what you did. Meaning that's the Kabbalistic, mystical stuff. Regret it. That's the emotional stuff. And then commit to the future. Now, of course, what's the big problem is you might say, hey, man, I know I committed, but, you never know if you're going to lose clarity 2 weeks from now, do you? Yeah. How do you know you're going to have, now you're clear the rest of your life? We all have ups and downs. You have moments of clarity and you lose it sometimes. So the answer is that you keep going with this, even if you lost your clarity. Meaning, did I just say that? Sorry, let me say, you do this process, this 4-step process, even though you don't know where you're going to be in 2 weeks. But here's the amazing thing, and get this, that what are the chances that you'll do it again, meaning do the wrong thing again, if you didn't get cleaned off with those 4 steps? Meaning you're still dirty from before. I didn't want to clean it off because I might do it again. What are the chances if you got the urge to do it again, that you'd probably do it again if you're already in the mud? Answer, high chance. But what if you clean off? What if you did those 4 steps, even though in 2 weeks you might wind up back in the mud? Well, you have a much less chance of jumping in the mud when you're feeling clean. You got that? If you got the cleanliness, and then the mud presents itself, you'd be like, well, I'm gonna think twice before I'm getting that mud. It's like if you're ever going out for a nice event or something, you just shower and you got dressed and you're like, but it's hot out and you realize, if I walk to the event, I'm gonna be schwitzing, I'll be sweating. And if I it might be worth it to take a cab just to stay clean. Maybe it's worth something to stay clean. I don't want to stink for this event. So we always get our act back together with those 4 steps, even if we fall. And you want to know something? You fall every week. Just keep doing those 4 steps, and eventually you'll stay up, because we love feeling good. We just got to get used to it. We have something called a misery comfort zone, and some people's misery comfort zone on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 9. So they're going to constantly sabotage themselves. But if they keep doing those 4 steps, they're going to become an 8. Eventually they will be an 8. And then eventually they'll be a 7, and they're going to pull their numbers down one after the other until they're people with a low misery comfort zone. They're not messing themselves up. Okay. You see what happens when I come with no topic? We rock it. Yeah, we're rocking. So let's get back to, I'm going to answer a couple more questions. We had, it's funny, we wound up kind of mixing that question between Cameron and the person who had asked about
Mr. Glazer.
How do yeah.
Hey, I got a question. As far like, all right, so I'm raised a Christian, a Pentecostal Christian, and what my mom told me to do, I started really reading my Bible. And I started finding out stuff for myself, like, hey, what's going on here? And so I've been really going back to like what the Yeshua, like, where was he from? What is he talking about here? Because they they tell us that, in order to get to God, you got to go through this medium, which is the Christo, right? And I was like, it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, why would a God so powerful have to do something like that to connect to his people? And it was, why you got to kill something?
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So reading the stories of Jesus and stuff, like, the only way to get through me. And I'm like, okay, that can mean a lot of things.
Right.
Right. It's like, well, maybe going through his studies, figuring out what he learned, not necessarily like through his body or his blood, but through his knowledge and wisdom. I don't know. It kind of bothered me. So I started really getting into like, the Jewish religion, and or not religion, but the religion. I started really studying the religion and starting to learn more.
Let's call it after my
tradition. There we go. Because religion is very bad. It's very bad.
It's not very bad. It's just it's got some history.
It's got some history on it. And so I picked up the Sefer Yatzar, right? I didn't have no clue what I was reading, but I started reading it. And I'm an artist, so I draw, I paint, I sculpt. I just picked up the guitar. I learned it within a year. Nice. I just got all these things God's been just downloading me with. to help my family and to help me succeed, you know, and to communicate with people. So I picked up the Sefer Yatzra. And it's funny how you were talking about these numbers.
Let me help you with the pronunciation. It's Yitzira.
Sefer Yitzira.
Yitzira, perfect. You have excellent verbalization too.
Thank you.
You just nailed it. Sefer Yitzira.
Yitzira. And I started reading, and I learned about the 72 names of God.
Yeah.
I also learned about there's a
Drew, just because the one of the channels this goes on there, I'm being real relaxed because I'm so enjoying interacting with you, but nail right in, because right now you gave us the background, then you started getting in this Kabbalistic stuff. Now go for it.
With the Sefer Yatzra and the 72 names of God and all these numbers and letters, what I'm finding out is that they do exist. Like, these numbers are really here. And I'm starting to see it in our news reports and in our, you know, in the world. And like, I'm like, is it possible that somebody could like put stuff in our news and stuff to kind of, I don't know why would they be coded like that unless they're trying to get a secret message out, you know? And why would God code all these things and like these jokes, you know? Can Kabbalah be used in an evil way?
So first of all, the stuff you're seeing all around you is everything in the physical world, and you see my keyboard over there and my guitars over there, and it's like those are all vibrational machinery, you know, but it's all flowing through, you know, the creator. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard Stevie Wonder do his thing live, but it's like he's not doing that. Okay. So it's the same thing with the paper, and it's the same thing with the news, and the same thing with the current events. It's all just coming through, and you know, God's going for grand finale. I don't know if you've ever studied the book of Exodus, but that's the whole, you know, Moses as a baby in the raft, the Jews are enslaved, you know, and then there's the 10 plagues and all this freaked out stuff. So it says over and over again that God's saying over and over again to Moses that I'm going to do this crazy stuff so that there is, oh, good. Paul's on. Paul. Yeah. Hey, Arley, aren't you? So God's going to do this crazy stuff to wake up the world. He's going to wake up the world. And
that's what I've been doing.
And so, but we have a teaching from our sages that all of that crazy stuff that goes on in the Bible that happens to Egypt is a microcosm of a macro redemption of the planet. And in that story, it's about God redeeming the Jews from slavery. But in the end of days, if I can quote Bob Marley, he says, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, that the whole planet is going to be redeemed. But the whole planet's going to be redeemed in a way that it's going to start like it's feeling like it's throwing up. Okay. It's going to happen in a way like, you know, you feel a lot better after you throw up. So, but you got to throw up. If you got something in you that's got to get out, you got to get it out. And the planet, just like Egypt, threw up. So the planet's going to throw up. It's crazy to think about that the planet's going to throw up. And you want to hear something really crazy? We all know that now we have a technology that's all around the planet. You know, every person on here is in a different location, and yet we're all together. How's that happen? And I promise you, most of you aren't living next door to each other. And so not only that, but we're in the most unstable time since World War II, but it's way unstable. You know, it's like more unstable. And then it goes further. Not only is it unstable, at least in those days, it was unstable because there were governments fighting. And they were, obviously, citizens were getting killed, but it was mostly political going on during that. Besides, obviously, the gas chambers of World War II. But other than what was happening to the Jews in Germany, it was It was nations fighting. That doesn't affect you going to get your milk at the corner store, in Louisiana. Like it was there. And it was really in a location called Europe. Yeah. That whole war. And think about it now, everybody. Think about it now. It affects everybody. And there is no milk, or you can't go out, or and it's the entire globe. The entire globe. Oh, Paul, I'm so glad you're on my screen right now, because you should be getting involved in this conversation. But it's the entire globe. So we're in the least, you have to understand, the time of World War II was like extremely destabilizing. Either because it was in your news, but it was taking place thousands of miles away, but it was crazy times. Now we're in a time more destabilizing, but it's the whole planet. The whole planet. Everybody's affected. Everybody's in it. And so it seems that between those two examples, one is the internet that has now attached everybody to everybody for the global birth. And by the way, the Torah doesn't call it throwing up. The Torah calls it birth pangs. Birth pangs are when a woman who's about to give birth and she's going into labor, she gets what's called birth pangs. And birth pangs come in these, like, at first, it's pretty regular, but it's like, okay, she's having a contraction every hour, one contraction hour. Hey, she's having one every 40 minutes. Hey, she's having one every 30 minutes. Hey, they're getting stronger and they're coming every 20 minutes. Hey, let's get her to the hospital. So we get her to the hospital, and then she gets checked. I'm not going to get graphic about what that means, but she's got to get to 10 centimeter dilation for a baby to be born. But now it's coming every like 5 minutes. And now she's starting to like freak out, and she's just like freaking. She feels like she's dying. She's got hopefully a birth coach or a midwife or someone there, the nurses, to helping her breathe, so that she's still taking deep breaths and breathing in from the abdomen, so that she can get through this without getting creamed. I'm just going to mute you for a sec, Paul, so it doesn't jump right to you by accident. But when you're ready, just give me a thumbs up. So, and it's just like coming, it's coming. Something's coming. And what's coming? The answer is the birth. What kind of birth? The birth of a new era. The birth of a new era, where we'll melt down our weapons into jewelry to adorn our loved ones with, to serve God with, that we're going to take all these resources, instead of the US burning wheat so that the supply and demand works, they're going to actually call Hans up in we're going to call Hans up in Oslo, Norway, and say, hey, you got one of those tankers available? Because we got excess wheat. And Hans is like, yeah, right away. He sends the tanker, fill it with wheat. That wheat goes over to Rwanda, Africa, where people need food. And then now they're eating wheat. And the whole planet becomes an ecosystem of love and not greed. Because what's been happening, see, what's everyone all worried about? Everyone's worried about, that, everyone's now connected. And so now they can go meet in Davos and talk about how they're going to capitalize on all of us and turn us all into slaves, and you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. But really, God's laughing, man. He's just like, oh yeah, that's what you're worried about? Yeah, I think something else is going to happen, says God. I think something else is going to happen. So they can try to do that. And you should know, by the way, if they succeed and they do that, well, doesn't that sound like Egypt? You'll have nothing. You'll be happy. Now you might say, what do you mean? People in Egypt weren't happy. They're enslaved. Oh yeah? Really? Is that right? Well, maybe the first ones were, but what if you're born into slavery? What if you're born that way? Do you realize that someone born into slavery thinks he's free? Because you don't know nothing else. You don't know anything else. So born into slavery is freedom, if you don't know. Now, obviously, you see people free. You're like, whoa, like, I'm not, man, am I enslaved? And then you have this wake up. And then the world wakes up. But the thing is that the they teach us that we have a tradition that the slavery of Egypt wasn't geographical, it wasn't fences, it wasn't radar and lasers and electric fences and stuff. It was mental slavery. It was that you thought you were free. You couldn't even see it. You didn't know. And so in other words, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. The Great Reset that was the quote. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy because you don't even know. And hence they're like, and part of this whole plan seems to be that they want to lock us all up into sterile. When I say sterile, I mean like no babies but I'm playing with the word sterile. They're going to lock us up into sterile virtual reality suits and goggles and just, I don't know, feed us through a tube while we think we're free, so I don't know about you, but I'm gonna stay right like with this body of mine, and I'm gonna interact with people and I'm gonna hug them. When they told us to put on those masks and start washing our hands, and the and et cetera, I was like, what? Like that goes directly against everything I learned in biology. One more sec, Paul. When I learned, I'm coming to you. When I learned in biology was that all the germs all those kids have all over each other is what's given us robust immunity. That's what's causing the strength. And so, when everyone was like putting rubber gloves on, I was like licking handrails. I was like, I'm not going that direction. I want to breathe what you got so that I can be strong. I'm going for strength. I'm not trying to isolate myself. I want to be as connected as possible. I want to feel your hug. I want to touch and experience life. I don't need no virtual reality goggles, man. So Paul, you're on, bro. Take it, Paul.
I have so much to say here.
I'm sure you got to know this guy, Drew. Drew's amazing. And Paul, Drew, if I told you stories about my relationship with Paul, you'd just be like,
I love you. I love you. I love you. I miss you so much.
What's up, Paul? I see you.
Hi, man. Pleasure. There's
I miss
so
you too, Paul.
I have to say about what you're talking about. So on one side of things, I massively agree with you. We already are this amazing machine. We already are this biological, awesome thing that has this ability to connect to a place of imagination and creation and be able to have conversations with people thousands of miles away, and we don't need the internet. So we don't need virtual reality to do that, right? On some level, we know that to be true within ourselves. It is technology that is separating ourselves from this connection that we're talking about. Yet at the same time, and this is where I get a little weird with it, I feel that because of technology, we're having this conversation. Because of virtual reality, you have people who are in wheelchairs who are getting to climb mountains, who are getting to go to seminars, who are getting to do things that would never be done before. Now, is that a positive ratio? It's a 50-50 for me. On one level, I see the metaverse and the non-fungible tokens and all the things that are happening, and all the things that I'm involved with right now, movies that are being made through NFTs, projects that are saving children around the world with NFTs.
What's NFTs?
So non-fungible tokens, which are basically, a lot of people think of them as just images of art on different websites. Some of the famous websites are OpenSea.io, and the other one is called Rarible. A new famous one now is called Crypto.com. And everybody in the industry, so last week was Miami, was the the National Bitcoin Conference here in the United States for 2022. And you have to understand that an NFT is what's called a smart contract. And so everything that is a contract between you and someone else in the future will be smart contracts. That includes a ticket you get from a police officer, the rent you pay on your house, the mortgage you have, insurances that you do, buying a movie ticket, buying a concert ticket. And
It
what
will
you
be
will
what?
get,
What did you say it will be? All those things.
all of these will become what are called non-fungible tokens, NFTs.
Okay.
And so, for instance, when I go to a movie, instead of having to pull out my money or my credit card, I have a wallet. That wallet is connected to Ethereum, it's connected to Bitcoin, it's connected to all the monies that I've bought into. And let's say AMC, the theater company I'm going to go see a movie to, they use Ethereum. So I pay with my wallet to buy the movie, but they're going to give me a logo of the movie or a three-dimensional cool picture. Now, when I live in my world, let's say in Decentraland, which is one of the alt worlds that you can choose to join, as a matter of fact, very cool, in Decentraland, Chabad just made the first ever Jewish place to study Judaism in VR in Decentraland. Amazing, amazing, amazing. You should go do a speech there.
Okay.
You see this? So this is where let me pull it back a bit to give you my conceptual idea of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I believe that fire was the first tech that we wielded, and for
Right.
thousands of years we sat around a fire without
Right.
doing anything with it. We learned to cook stuff, we learned to not hurt ourselves with it, and we learned to carry it.
Mhm.
But I truly believe that what happened to us in that time was that we came to a place of wanting to be the fire, wanting to be conscious light. And the only way for us as a being that is made of physical things, i.e., 80% water, 20% carbon, and a bunch of electronic stuff going on in my brain, right? The only way for me to connect to that light is to become the light. The only way for me to become the light in a physical manner would be in some way to copy my process of thinking, my brain reactivity, the way that my brain creates certain chemicals. And if I could recreate that, I could copy that, I could then put that into the multiverse. And I would never be forgotten, and I would always be able to be spoken to. Would it not be great if you could speak to the Rambam or Maimonides, and it's actually their words, their thoughts, their ideas that haven't changed for 4,000 years from that point? And then you can also talk to a newer version that has all of the talk points and all of the ideas from the Gematria, from the Talmud. And now it's Maimonides 4,000 years later with a whole bunch of new information saying, let me tell you how I feel about it from this point of view, from when I was 4,000 years ago. Although I've read all the stuff and I've talked to all the guys and I know what they're thinking, here's still how I feel.
But there's no conscious Rambam to be able to make that response to.
I agree. So what I'm saying is, if there was, let's say you could copy yourself, you have thousands of conversations you've had with people, hundreds of people that you've changed lives for, thousands. What if one day you pass away? Wouldn't it not be great to be able to have this interaction that I'm having with you right now in a virtual manner where it's me talking to you, but it's just the conscious version of what you used to be?
Like a Tupac hologram.
Tupac hologram is okay. And I like the idea. It works off of an old system, which is a magic routine, which is called Pepper's Ghost Illusion, right? And that's all that the new version is.
He's a
So
magician, by the way, Drew.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The Pepper's Ghost Illusion that they're using is a movable glass field that goes on the stage, which is okay. And the guy who invented it has his own theater in Hollywood Boulevard, and it's cool. And they do different shows. And they have some the rights to some really cool names. So they have
focused
like,
on but I
see.
still I think I
mean,
don't know if I'm sharp.
Who are watching hologram 3D artists from Japan that are nothing more than just a three-dimensional character that's been created. And they go to concerts. There's 30, 40,000 Japanese kids screaming at the top of their lungs to a hologram on stage.
Are they
So the
there?
last piece
Are they
of-
physically at the theater, or are they at home?
They're physically there, and they're also in VR, and they're all there together watching this concert. Physical concert. There's people on stage playing, and then there's a image that runs around the stage that's a hologram that people are freaking out over. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So there's a band on
More
stage.
so. There's a band on a physical band on stage with a created image of a Hariyoshi girl, like the Japanese style kind
Cartoon.
of character, and she sings and runs around on the stage, and people are, oh, God, I love her, I want to be with her, I want to marry her. It's an imaginary character. Snoop Doggy Dogg just opened up his own world inside of a place called Sandbox. Sandbox is another one of the worlds that you can buy land in. So there's Sandbox, there's Upland, there's Decentraland, there's Second Life, there's Earth 2. Earth 2 is a copy of Google Maps, and they literally took every single plot of land on Google Maps and made it into an NFT, and you can go buy anything. You can go buy your house in Israel, in Jerusalem. Yeah. Crazy. So to kind of
We
put
were.
it all
I was
together.
talking about. First of all, I think what you're, in a way, you kind of came on right now saying that my beloved Rabbi Yom Tov, there's much more you need to know about virtual reality besides the fact that you can't maybe physically hug someone, smell their breath, or lick their railing. But
there you are. Sorry.
But the meaning you're saying, Reb Yom Tov, there's much more to this. But can you fit it all in now back to?
I'll try.
I want to see if you can fit it all back into the macrocosm of the birth of a new realm that will come from the birth pangs that are going on, and will obviously get quicker and closer together and explode into something crazy. But what's the connect? Can you put it all together and make the connection?
Easy, no problem. And once again, these are my own ideological thoughts that connect somewhat to Judaism and Kabbalah and all that. So I truly believe this 1,000 years of being with the Mashiach.
That's what I'm talking about, giving birth to the 1,000 years.
I'm going to connect it all together, and it's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, Paul, I think you're crazy.
Right. Okay. You should know also that according to the mystics, that 1,000 years isn't 1,000 years, because it's such a timeless realm. It's just that because there's 6 days and then a seventh day, and there's 6 years and then a seventh year, which we're in right now in Israel, we're in the sabbatical year. And then there's a count of 7 weeks, sets of 7 years to get to the 50th Jubilee year. So also there's 6,000 years of history from Adam, meaning it could be we're not discussing what was preceding Adam, if there's Homo sapien and Adam's the first souled Homo sapien. But bottom line is 6,000 years from the birth of Adam, or at least from the time his soul was put in, to this 1,000 years. Go on. But that 1,000 years could go on forever. I'm just catching up people who don't know this tradition. So go ahead.
No problem. Okay, so here's where I was going at with this idea of becoming the light, this consciousness. Yeah. They say that the idea of the singularity, which is when artificial intelligence becomes conscious, that the amount of speed and the amount of technological improvements that will happen will be so radically fast that we will not be able to keep up. And there will be something that happens where there's no more jobs because robots are taking over. And you think maybe that's dystopian. I don't. I think that it's the most awesome place for humans to be, where they no longer have to rush around to work a job, but instead they get to be the person they're meant to be, because they come to a place of anything is possible here. You can create whatever you want here, this metaverse world. we seemingly are not in the first iteration of the simulation, since we are creating creations of a creation of a creation of a creation. So what does that entail? Does that mean that we're nothing more than a non-stop spiral of beauty that is it will never ever be able to be understood or known? I will be what I will be. I am what I am. And yet we are still part of it. And yet we are also starting to try to become like it, so that we are like, in essence, a creator by thought and thought alone. No,
you know what you're reminding me of? You're reminding me of my frustration in the last 30 years of being with serious Kabbalistic people, and my frustration with them that they were fine to live in idea alone. And now you're telling me that the whole world could move its way to exactly where they were, but could never explain to me that the urgency I felt to help the kid on the street was, obviously they didn't stop me from helping the kid on the street. So they understood that there's a kid on the street and that I'm going to help that kid. But they never stopped me, but they themselves didn't sense, they themselves didn't feel the urgency, because the flower, if you ever looked at a flower, or if you stand like too close to a mural on the wall on the city street, if you're standing with your nose against it, you might say, well, that's ugly. But if you just back up, you'll see, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't realize there's a whole picture here. So what you're saying is that we can finally get to what's called in Hebrew Chachma, to be in the Chachma itself, which is there's no English for Chachma, but you'll be within the idea itself of the idea of creation, like God's idea of the creation, not to mention the fact that this creation never left. I mean, those who know this stuff, that the creation never left the idea, meaning it never left the mind, because the second, if anything leaves the mind of God, it ceases to exist in that very moment. And so everything never left the idea. And so the world is finally getting to the point, what you're saying, till we will be able to manifest from idea rather than manifest from coal burning to make fire, to harness fire, to power cities, but we will live in the light of the idea, which is meaning Chachma in Kabbalah, that will live there. And it's very interesting, the word Chachma, our Kabbalists teach us the word Chachma, which is the purest form of idea, is, if you play with the letters, it's Koach Ma. And Koach means potentiality, and Ma means all that could ever be. The potentiality of all that could ever be is Chachma. But you're saying it never had to, we can get back to where it all reunites with the Chachma, what's called Chachma Ilah, like Aliyah, Chachma Ilah, the supernal Chachma, that man's evolving his way out of the physical. Oh, that's so interesting, because Adam, his curse was he had to go out into the physical and work, which means harnessing fire, which means schlepping the coal from here to there, and so that you can make the heat, so that you can stay warm and feed your family with the truck moving the vegetables across the states. And you're saying that when we get back to the garden, getting back to the garden means no longer having to be involved in sweating it out in some cubicle, in some office, in some building somewhere, so that you can feed a family that can't even recognize you by the time you got home.
Oh,
Okay, but what about What about
think it's a
having
double-edged
children
sword,
and
like everything in
family
life.
and parks and pushing your kid on the swing? And
I think it's a double-edged sword. There's a part of it that I think that is this beautiful utopian conceptual idea, but at the same time, it's also the world of toilets that are coming out now that can actually tell what's in your urine and in your feces. And so let's just pretend I go out on a night with some friends and I come home the next day and I go to the restroom and then I get a message in my bathroom that says you're fired. You went to a party last night and had some illicit drug. You're fired now. That's like that's a little scary to me. So
meaning we can be so easily tracked.
right. There's this level of, it's really weird, Yom Tov. There's a thing that's always happened with humanity, right? Since the beginning of it, that we always want some kind of control over others. And there's also another set of people who are always kind of lost, who need that directional thing. That's from the beginning of humanity, right? And so I feel as though the difference between an alpha and a beta, if you will, of human beings, of people who are willing to go out and burn the coal, kill the animals, and the other ones who are like, I'm gay, or I just don't into it, or I'm cool with just picking berries, leave me alone, whatever. To each their own, to each their own. But there's a great story about a guy who goes to a town he's never been to, and they say everybody has to have a job here. And they ask him what he's about. He tells them everything, and they're like, wow, you're so smart. You should do this job. And he does it. He doesn't like it. He does all these different jobs. He doesn't like it. And finally, they give him the worst job, which is carrying dirt from one place to the other. And the guy's the most fulfilled ever. Each person to each their own, to each their own. Everybody has their own thing. And I think the macro of the story of what I'm trying to get at here is I am not this being. I am not my, you've said this. I'm not my hair. I'm not my eyes. I'm not my teeth, my nose. I'm not any piece of me. There's something intrinsic that's me that comes from somewhere else. I don't know where it is or what it is or how it is. And I try to connect to it as much as possible, 3 times a day, every day.
Okay.
Knowing that I'm not real,
Right.
and knowing that I am outside of this thing that I am seeing through a video and touching when I touch, I know I'm not any of these things. Then I am light. I am energy. I am nothing but a vibration.
Right.
How long will it take me to get to that point? How long in my evolutionary status is it going to take me to get to that point again? Right? Because that's the whole, in my idea of this whole thing, Yom Tov, the whole reason that I'm here is to learn to become light, not anything else.
Sure. Sure.
I'm here to learn how to be light, how to be beautiful, how to be awesome, how to be positive, how to be giving, how to be loving, how to be sharing, all of those things. And if I'm not doing that, I've ruined the game.
Okay, here's a question. And then I'm going to go into just reading some of the comments of questions there just to make sure, because a lot of people are really excited about today's session. It's going
and I just want to say love you and thank you for allowing me to speak today. I
love you. I love you too, and I've always felt very strongly about what you bring to the table, as you know, and I respect you greatly. And you are an extremely courageous person, and all the power to you, and the blessings, and you're though you may have looked at times at people who played the game and looked like they were winning, you're laughing your way to the bank by being so cutting edge courageous. And I've recognized it, and I've considered it as all my years, as because we known each other forever, I've considered it as as you set the standard for me to not look at the odds, to not be conservative in my moves, such that I can make a difference. And I meet plenty of people who just don't make a difference. They have the goods, but they don't make the difference, and they're just too busy looking in the rearview mirror, like driving on the dashboard and looking out the back window. Imagine that. So what's everyone going to say? And so you've been a real role model for that, for me, and for, I'm sure, countless others. So here's my question. My question is, for something as powerful as a digital universe, that is coming to the light. I'm already able to answer this question, so I almost don't want to ask it. But could it be that because the people behind it don't know the first thing about truth, that it can't therefore be a kosher vessel? But I'm going to answer the same question. I'm going to answer, and that is that there. It's something I said to Drew earlier, is that God's anyway working through all of this. It's all, God's working through everything and everyone. And if the Jews weren't supposed to lose a third of their people in World War II at the hands of the Nazis, Hitler would have died of a brain aneurysm when he was a teenager. And it's not that they're off the hook, believe me. All of us have to sleep, and that's what Drew and I started with, was all of us will have to sleep in the bed we made. We're all going to have to sleep in that bed. And but yeah, so I guess that would have been your answer, Paul, that it doesn't matter who makes this thing. The main thing is that it's time.
I think that there's so much to it, Yom Tov. There's so much to this thing that we're talking about, because on one level, we're just talking about the physical aspect of life. And then on the other aspect, we're talking about this ethereal connection thing. And we're trying to bridge the gap between the two. Science is doing it. Philosophy's doing it. We've been doing it forever, right? But the Higgs boson particle, the God particle, or the spirit molecule, which is DMT, methyltryptamine. So all of these ideas are these hopes and dreams, in my opinion, of humanity, to try and grasp an idea that is so, they talk about Planck's constant. Planck's constant is a mathematical idea that once you go down 9 levels, bloop, you just can't understand it. And I can break it down real simple. If we look at an atom, we break down an atom to its parts, electron, proton, neutron. You break that down, you get into quarks, you get down into gluons. We're only 5 layers down and we're already into invisible I don't knows.
Right.
So anything else, we're already into weird philosophies and string theories and things that don't make sense because we can't understand it. The 11 walls to the corners to go see God's face, which you will never see.
Right.
So I think there's a part of it that is that as we are here, as we are separated from the creation, the creator, and we have this 10 layers, this 10 layers of separation, we're not meant to see, we're not meant to know, we're not meant to, we're meant to face, we're meant to run, we're meant to scream and love and eat, and we're meant to do those things. But in my trips, in my DMT trips, when I've reached that pinnacle place, it was a place of absolute nothingness and absolute freedom, but no action, no words need to be spoken, no thoughts need to be had. It's nothing.
Right.
It's a nothingness of
everything. Which is before there was something, there was
nothing. Yeah. And but mind you, that nothingness is the most amazing, beautiful place I've ever been, and I can't wait to go home. I can't wait. I pray for it on a daily. Like, yo, you want to take me right now? I'm good, buddy. I know what home feels like, so ain't issues here. And I have a feeling, and this is my own ego probably speaking, but I hope to God that I have a nice, really nice little camp that I can go to when I get there. That's already been built and made for me because of the things I've done or the people I've changed or the things I've said. Oh God, I hope to pray that that's what I'm doing, because my life at times feels like a waste. You know how I feel, my depression, my own things.
Yeah.
So if I'm not in a place where I feel that at the end of the game, I did something to have my own little plot of land in the ever after, then I did something wrong, Yom Tov. I did something wrong here.
Right.
I don't.
Well, I'm not worried about that at all. For you or for all of us, it's just that what that plot of land is formed by is likely of least expected. Meaning it will probably be the times where no one will ever know you did that thing for somebody. You know, it's the guy fast asleep that wakes up to the $20 bill, you know, that and you weren't with a friend who saw you put the $20 bill, you know. It's those things, and really those things, and we and it's also doing those things not having in mind that it's for the plot of land, but it's for the guy to wake up to it, which is also an interesting thing, is to get rid of the plot of land thought while giving the $20 to the guy who's fast asleep. So
but I think that comes from being involved in that thought process. And then it's almost like the same thing as like being an entertainer, or like for me, like a magician. I don't think about the practice of the magic trick when I'm doing the effect. I think of the moment and how to make that moment the best moment for the people who are watching. I don't care about anything else. At that point, that's my job, is to create this moment that someone comes to me 10, 20, 30 years later and says, bro, I still have your fork. I still have that card you signed in my wallet. Like when someone does that to me, that's amazing. But real amazing to me is I went on a date in New York 4 months ago. I went the wrong street. Take a right, I take a left. I didn't know where I was. Guy walks up to me, says, hey man, I know you. 6 years ago, you were homeless in New York. You were doing this thing where you were writing about how you wanted to be homeless for 30 days to see if you could make it from zero. I was like, yeah, I remember that. He goes, yeah, well, I met you on 110th Street. You were smoking a joint and you were homeless. You had nothing. And I was like, yeah. He goes, I came to you up on a bicycle. You asked me to join me. I sat down. You walked with me from 110th Street to 59th Street to where you slept every night. And the whole time you told me how life is beautiful, how everything's awesome, how you're broken, you have nothing, and things are okay. And he goes, I haven't stopped thinking about you for 6 years. He goes, my wife was leaving me. I was losing my children. I didn't have a job. I was going to kill myself the night I met you.
Really?
Swear to God. It's all on video. It's on my Instagram. The minute I saw him and he said that to me, I started freaking out. I had to film it. And so to me, in the moment where I was in that moment in my life, at the precipice of him telling me, I was in a very weird state of place. I was very depressed. I was very this, that, and the other. And it was this moment that was just like, yo, you'd never, ever know who you are going to touch and talk to. So you best be ready to always be happy and always be good. Doesn't matter if you're depressed. Doesn't matter if you're angry. Doesn't matter. And I know I'm totally veering off in a million places, but who's the NLP?
Rabbi.
Joy. Pliskin, right? Pliskin.
Rabbi Zelig Pliskin. Yeah.
Bro. The 7th day I'm in Israel, his best friend passes away.
Oh.
The man who started Aish.
Rabbi Weinberg.
You
were there when you were on your 7th day when Rabbi.
On the 7th day. The 7th day I was in Israel.
Whoa, that's quite a interesting.
We're standing next to each other. Me and Pliskin. You have no idea how much Israel and you and Aish messed with my heart, my brain, my everything. Oh God, you have no idea. Pliskin and I are standing next to each other. He's on the steps. There are thousands of Jews in the street. Thousands of Jews in the street, all crying. Pliskin.
I was one of them.
I know. Pliskin. I stop. I look at him and I'm like, bro, how are you smiling? Best response I've ever heard in my life. Ready? My friend wouldn't want me to be any other way. I'm done. I'm done. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. My mind was blown. He became my best friend as well as you. And I walked with him every single day that he came to class. I would walk him out of the hotel and walk him to his bus because I was in love with him. I was just like I was in love with you. Still am. I would do anything for you. I mean, look at the stories we have with the kids. Remember the when they were all going to kill us? I just start to imagine.
I was thinking today to go out to the desert to do that ride again.
Oh man! So
I'm going out there tomorrow. I'll be out there
yeah.
tomorrow, actually,
Man,
in the desert.
brother, I wish I was in Israel, man. There's a friend of mine who lives in Jerusalem. Beautiful woman. She does Watsu. Have you ever heard of Watsu? Bro, this is really cool. It's this idea. I have a couple people that do it in Israel, but her in particular, she puts you in a pool and they kind of swim with you.
Yeah.
Bro.
It's amazing. Yeah.
The people that have the most amazing breakthroughs.
Sure.
Because of the way that they're tossed or taught. Oh man, it's so beautiful.
It's a very it's almost like you can reenact the rebirth. A lot of my programs will, I don't know did we do this for you? I don't know. But some of my programs, I'll determine that we need to rebirth somebody because of his upbringing or his childbirth.
Yeah, we did that with me. We did that with
you. Was that you? Did we do that with you?
Way when I did the Houdini act, remember? And then when I came back, you were like, "Oh no, this guy."
Just to catch everyone up, Paul disappeared from a program that I've been running it now for 21 years. I have like 11,000 graduates, and I'm flying Saturday night. I'm glad this is our last session this week because I'm going to be in New York next week, and I don't know if I have time to do it while I'm in New York, but to keep doing this at 11 Eastern. But the once in a while, I determine that the only way to heal this person, or at least this part of this person, because we all have lots of layers to heal, but the only way to heal this person is we all have to hold them like that woman probably does in the pool. And my wife's done that for me, and I've done it back in the pool. But because the pool holds you, and then the person's holding you by the head and just guiding you around the pool until you just don't know where you are, and you can go full amniotic sac, back to before it all. But you can have humans hold a person through that. We've so far held two crippled people who came to me to be able to walk again. And one is absolutely fine. He's a medical miracle. And the other one, the arthritic deterioration in his hips is such that he may have to have like hip replacements, but I believe he's going to make it. And there's a third who's now paraplegic. And I have to send a text to find out because I set him up such that he should be, I challenged him to start taking some steps. So let's see what happens there. I want to sing a song. I want to sing a song.
Yeah.
So
he's like, yeah.
So I'm going to sing a song. And obviously the singer who sings the song, he'll be in the background, is, one of the greatest singers of all time. So I can't exactly match his vocal quality. And I just led a 12-hour, Paul, were you ever at my 12-hour food meditation on Tu B'Shvat, the all night?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, you were there. So I just led that, which means hours and hours of singing for 12 hours straight. So throughout the night. So and my voice still isn't back. And Saturday, come Sunday in New York, I'm already leading again. And then we got a whole other, ceremony of the possible you for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's men. If anyone wants to fly into New York, that's going to be men. And then the following week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be women's, all non-work hours. So it's all day Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. And then the following week, so that's next week's men's, following week's women's. for that session. And you can go to rabbiyomtov.com to register for that. It's pretty intense. and also, if anyone does want to be there, I'm just telling you now that you have to have a clean bill of health to do it. Psychologically, you have to be someone who's no history or evaluation of any psychosis, bipolar, any type of thing that's schizophrenia, anything like that. You have to be someone who can be pushed to the edge and then over it. So so if you're not someone strong enough to go through that, but that's how you give birth to yourself. It's all through surrender. And in fact, we quoted the Talmud. You want to hear a crazy piece of Talmud I never saw before? Last week it said that the demolition of the elders, and if the elders say demolish and the younger say build, demolish, because the demolition of the elders is the building.
Wait, Rabbi Glazer.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah. Let us just let that settle in real quick. If wait, Rachel, turn off your camera for a sec, please.
Okay.
Turn off your camera. Yeah. Wow, so cool to see you. 1 sec. I'm gonna say it again just so it locks in. The demolition. If the elders say demolish and the younger say to build, demolish, because the demolition of the elders is the building. And what that means is to knock out what's not working, that's not authentic. It doesn't have proper core. The core is not right, and the elders get that. Whereas the younger just say build, like who cares what's going on, like we don't need that. Rachel, without putting your camera on, because there's a lot of Hasidic men who watch this on Torah Anytime. It's better your camera's off for your question, but hit your question.
Sure.
And just amazing. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're well.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I am. I have a question. You were saying the course, whoever, I know someone close to me, I want him to do it, but he's bipolar, whatever, one of those things. So it's not good for him to come, or?
If he's medicated and stable for a long time and he's committed to staying medicated, he could be there. But it would be good if he WhatsApps me and we have a little talk, or at least a little messaging back and forth, just so I can guarantee that it would be good for him.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I'm here to help, not to hurt.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, let's get the song going. I don't know what's gonna happen with my voice.
Last thing I just wanted to tell you real quick, Abraham. Remember Abraham?
I know a couple of Abrahams.
Oh, so he was from Mexico, and he used to hang out with me and Brandon a lot. He actually became a hypnotist. He's in Sfat. Yeah.
Abraham.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a little punk little brother hanging around. In later years, his younger brother started showing up.
I think so.
Yeah,
maybe
I saw him. That's crazy. I would never know who you're talking about in a million years, except that yesterday I have a guest, and he's showing me some of the influencers he's got on YouTube, and he shows, there's this guy named Avraham, and shows me, there's my student who was a student with you, Avraham, in Sfat. And I'm like, yeah, he was my student. He says, oh yeah, actually he's mentioned your name a few times on his thing. That's amazing. So
great. Yeah,
I got to check it out, because I was so proud I forgot to actually click on it.
And then after this, send me a message on Facebook. I have somebody who wants to take your wife's course, who went to see Abraham and was like, and I was like, you need to take the Possible You female version with.
I lead the female version. My wife went.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought your wife was.
She was, but she went full mom. We had so many little kids in the house, and she was like, I can't look myself in the mirror doing this. So I took it over, but I have an amazing crack staff of women that back me up throughout
I'm not worried.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
Really amazing women. One of my commitments, by the way, I want to tell you, one of my commitments this year is 5 women running it, 5 men running it, meaning by January 2023, there's 10 of me just for that program. And I developed 6 more of them. So the one that's out there now, it's going to be next week, but it's an executive one. It's like a snobby executive one. No one needs to bother with that, but it's good. It's called The Mission. It's finding your life's mission. Remember Rabbi Weinberg, who passed away on the 7th day you were there. Remember the 5 levels of pleasure were, physical pleasure, love, mission. 4 is living your mission. And then the 5th is total becoming one with God. Those are the pleasures of life. So I developed a seminar called The Mission. It's 12 hours broken into 3 days. And I'm running, I've run it now. I did a virtual one. I took a group of business leaders to Texas, without going into great detail, you can imagine those. There were some
I wish
interesting
I would have known you were here.
Yeah. You're in Texas?
I'm in Houston.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Next time
Anyway,
you're here, let me know.
yeah, I took them out to a 40-acre pad from heaven and led them through the mission with, some very interesting experiences during it, you can imagine. And we did the mission, and then we did, and so, but then there's 6 more seminars. There's a 12-hour one called Desire, a 10-hour one called Desire, which is crazy how to get your desire locked in and how to like aim it and nail it. And then there's one called Time that you, Paul, would love. And Drew, you'd be into Time too, but there's one called Time. And that's really how to get back to pure consciousness outside of time. And it's funny, it's called Time, but the whole point of it is to get rid of it.
You ever come to California?
I come to California, but only to surf.
Okay.
I come to California. My parents live on the cliffs in Malibu. And,
okay.
Yeah. Where do you live in California?
I'm in Northern California, the Bay Area.
Nice. Where in Bay Area?
Vallejo. I'm about 20 minutes outside of Oakland.
Sure.
40 minutes Sacramento.
Nice. Yeah. So my mother grew up in Sacramento, and and
that's my wife's friend.
I surfed the whole entire coast. So I would be at Ocean Beach in Sunset District, San Francisco. Once a month, I was surfing Ocean Beach.
My little brother surfs, man. I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Anyway, okay, here we go. Listen to the song. Check out the song, and then we're gonna end this session because
I wanted to tell you too. The first time I heard you sing was that Hanani song with your brother, your big brother, or your little brother. Is that your little brother or your big brother?
My oldest brother. He looks younger, but he's older than me. What about it?
Hanani, man. Hinani.
You heard us singing Hinani?
So awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I was playing it for people at my church, man. They didn't understand. I was like, this is it. This is the one.
If you remind me, I'll whip it out on guitar and go for it, But I had this song in mind. I don't know if I'll be able to sing it, but I'll do my best. Michael McDonald of the Doobie Brothers. This is a Doobie Brothers song. And Michael McDonald is just like a hero in voice. And by the way, if you want to hear one of the greatest live concerts ever, which should mean it's like in the last year, because who would have good sound tech? But I think it's 1972 Santa Barbara Doobie Brothers, which is just insane sound and one of the best shows you'll ever see.
Check it out.
Anyway, but listen to this. It says, the very first words are, I've heard it said that the weight of the world's problems is enough to make the ball fall right through space. You hear that? I've heard it said that the weight of the world's problems is enough to make the ball, meaning the world, the earth, fall right through space. The song's called I'm Here to Love You, meaning forget all the problems, just love each other. So it goes like this. I've heard it said that the weight of the world's problems is enough to make the ball fall right through space. that it ain't even worth it to live with all that's going on. Well, let me just go down and say that I'm glad to be here with all the same pain and laughs everybody knows. Some men think they're born to be king. Maybe that's true. But I think passing love along is all we were born to do. Let them build their kingdom. Let them make their laws for this world to heed. Oh, you and I make life worth living right here in each other's arms. I'm here to love you. No more loneliness. Yeah. No more emptiness. I'm here to love you. Sax. Let them build their kingdoms. Let them make their laws for this world to heed. Oh, you and I make life worth living right here in each other's arms. I'm here to love you. No more loneliness. Yeah. No more emptiness. I'm here to love you. I'm here to love you. I'm here to love you. Check out these last words. Just let me go on loving you. Don't stop me now. Don't stop me now when I'm feeling this way. Just let me go on loving you. Don't stop me now when I'm feeling this way. Just let me go on loving you. Try it, everybody. Don't stop me now when I'm feeling this way. Just let me go on loving you. Don't stop me now when I'm feeling this way. Anyway, that's on an album called Minute by Minute. That's one of the albums that plays cover to cover. You can just put it on and let it play, and it will just.
My dad ran that album to the ground.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that one, Drew? Minute by Minute, the whole album?
Yeah, man. My dad used to. That's what I was raised on. Was that stuff? You know, I caught on the rap and hip hop late. I used to get talked about.
Cool. Okay, everyone. I'm not going to read everything now. I'll read the comments a little later. Lots of love to you all. An amazing Shabbat. This week we learned the portion of Mount Sinai. So it's like this is the portion. It's called Jethro, which in Hebrew is Yitro, but everything's J is Yud. You know, just like a Jew is a Yehudi. So it's called Yitro or Jethro, or for us Ashkenazi, Yisro, and or Yisroi. And this week's parsha is, by the way, it's the name of Moses' father-in-law because he came to see Moses. There's, by the way, nothing in the Torah is chronological, meaning some stuff's chronological. Clearly, Egypt's before Sinai, but there's not a lot of chronologies all over the place because it's super Kabbalistic, expialidocious throughout the book, and meaning there's a whole discussion. Did Jethro come after the THX surround sound Sinai thing, or did he come before it? Did he hear about it and that's why he came? And anyway, so the And it's also Jethro came with his daughter Tzipporah and Moses' two sons, because when he went to Egypt, he didn't bring his wife and two kids into Egypt. He left them with her father, Yitro. So anyway, bottom line is that's this week. This week's the Revelation. The Revelation's like, I'll just give you one crazy thing about the Revelation is, according to most opinions, that if you had a video camera, I mean, it'd be hard to have a video camera 3,330 years ago. By the way, this is year 3333 from Sinai, which is cool to know about. I've been waiting for this year. It's 3333. And I've been literally telling people, yeah, this year is 3,329 years. This is 3,330 years since Mount Sinai. So anyway, this year is 3333. And the what I want to say about it is is that if you had a video camera there and you're filming, there's the mountain's on fire, God's like giving national prophecy. Never happened before. This is the only time in all of history where the prophecy is not coming through one person. And by the way, the word prophecy it biblically means something totally different than the way the modern world uses it. The modern world uses that as a pivotal teacher. So they'll want to say that a pivotal teacher was a prophet. Prophet's something totally different. I mean, a prophet, when they're getting prophecy, they're rolling around on the ground, like getting, like a prophet needs a change of clothes wherever he goes. And they're not saying anything. They're getting majorly like they're having a hardcore, a prophet's having a hardcore power surge. Because why don't you have prophecy right now? Because there's step down converters keeping you from going insane from such a thing. But when someone got to the level of prophecy, God could take off all the step down converters, do a power surge for that one individual. Now, if suddenly, let's say, for example, on our group here, let's say Max on the screen got prophecy, would we hear it or would Max hear it if he got the prophecy? He would hear it, not us. Well, think about it. If there's prophecy at Mount Sinai, would we hear it? So the question is, what if you put a video camera, which has a microphone and a camera, sight and sound? Would you see anything? So according to most opinions of the Kabbalistic natures, which is the only one you'd be asking about, really, when you're talking about such things, the Kabbalistic opinions is nothing. There would have been nothing there. All you'd get is just a little mountain. It's a smaller mountain surrounded by bigger ones. And it's very hidden. No one ever will know where it is. And it would just be nothing but a mountain. If you'd hear anything, it would be the people dropping and squirming in full convulsions. 3 million of them in full convulsions. And our tradition is they died. They just wound up after the convulsions. They were dead. And God brought them back to life. And they all ran for their lives. And Moses and some angels came and like, come on back. And the second commandment hit. And again, convulsions, everyone fell to the ground. So if anything, you would have heard the convulsions. You probably would have heard some screaming. You probably would have heard them hit the ground, but nothing else. Why? Because prophecy is only experienced by the person having the prophecy. Pretty crazy thought. Anyway, that's this week. So everyone should have that in mind over the Sabbath from sundown Friday afternoon till sundown Saturday night, till there are 3 stars in the sky. Sundown Friday, 3 stars Saturday, because we always want to add a little going into the holy day, and you want to take it out as late as possible. So at least 3 stars in the sky. Okay, everybody. Lots of love. Love you all. Be well. If people want to subscribe, obviously, what am I supposed to say here? Subscribe and get notices if you want. What else can people do to get closer to me? I put up my WhatsApp. If you want to be in my WhatsApp, I leave a lot of statuses, just my thoughts throughout the day. If you want to be in those, you can. If you've got a pen, you can put down my number. And the reason I give out my number is not just for this, but also, sometimes someone winds up in trouble and needed help, and they're in deep stuff, and that God forbid they could hurt themselves, and so I always said to myself, like, I think it's important that they could reach out to me. I've never lost anybody in all these 30 years of helping people. So I always put my number out there. And the other thing is, an interesting question is, you'd probably think, well, gosh, putting your number out, are you crazy? You sure you want that out in the whole world? But I would teach. Oh, by the way, one of those 7 seminars is called Trust. And I'm going to ask you guys, how many times since I've been putting my number out there, how many times do you think it's bit me in the butt? 0. Trust is one of those things that if you give it, you'll get it. If you give it, you can live in a world of trust. And so, Baruch, thank God, I've only been able to help people as a result of being as open as I am and as being as sharing of myself. So anyway, I generally use WhatsApp. And obviously people, make sure it's important.
Tommy, excuse me, Mr. Glazer, could you I remember those 4 steps again. Could you just do it one more time?
Yeah, stop, say, regret, commit.
Stop,
say, regret, commit. And my number is plus 972 52 834 4664. And if you want to get my statuses, just send me a WhatsApp just with your full name, and I'll put you in my contacts, and you'll get the statuses on WhatsApp. By the way, I'm not pro status, by the way, that people should. I just know people are watching my status, so I post. But I think you should be posting. You're the amazing person. Don't live other people's lives. Live your life. Yeah. Okay, everyone. Shalom. It's plus
Shalom.
972 52 834 4664. Plus 972 52 834 4664. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.